series. So today we got a classic battle here. Battle of really sports car icons. Got Porsche here and we got Corvette. So Germany versus USA. We have a 1971 base Stingray and a 1973.5 or 73
and a half 911T, right? So this is their base model for 73. And yeah, I mean, this is the, kind of early generation sports car icons, really, right? So this is, Gen 3 Corvette, kind of Gen 2 911s. Now they're up to 8 and 9. So
Zora versus Ferdinand.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah.
This should be interesting. Pretty cool, though. Going back in time here, classic style, right?
Early 70s.
This should be an interesting one. So, hope everyone's doing well. We got a really nice day here. We're still social distancing. Hope people are doing well, staying safe. But we're going to go through this. And if you like the videos, please subscribe. We'd love that. Keep bringing these. We really enjoy it. So,
welcome your comments as well. So we're going to continue doing these.
Yeah, so we're going to look at the exteriors, interiors, and take them for a test drive. And then we'll get back together and we'll rank them and pick which one we'd rather have.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it.
As Sean mentioned, this is C3. So the C3 is really the longest running generation of all the Corvettes, from 68 to 82. If we're back here and starting at the rear, and a couple things, you got the split bumpers, chrome bumpers, you got chrome in the front and the back, fuel filler door there. Coming up the side, I mean, you really get the sense that this is a pretty classic Corvette style. I think a lot of people really remember Corvettes this way with the long hood, little departure. So this was the third year they changed a little bit. So in 1970, the little more aggressive fender flare. So really subtle difference from the 68 and 69, but when you really do look at them side by side, it gives it a much nicer kind of aggressive look. With
definitely
rounds out the
peak to it, I think. And again, definitely big departure from the C2s.
Oh yeah.
But like you said, this is like kind of iconic kind of fenders and quarters, without a doubt.
Exactly. I mean, one little difference too, you go with the egg crate kind of air vent here on the side. Kind of matches the grill up front as well too.
Yeah,
that
they played around with that.
They did. They
right?
did. The slits, the 4 slits, chrome, painted.
Right.
You got the flush door handles here. Single side mirror, chrome. Again.
What color is this?
This is the Mulsanne blue.
Okay.
So
I think it's great. I love it in this color. It's great.
Yeah, me too. I'm a big fan of this color. As I was saying, I think the colors, it was pretty evenly matched for all the models. I think there was about 4,000 or so of these, but so it was on the upper side. But there's a lot of four-bonnet yellows too. But yeah, I do love the color.
And I like of the C3s, right? So this earlier C3. So this is kind of like the notchback kind of styling, right? The fastback, I guess, right?
Mm-hmm.
Before they switched over in '78, I think, right, to the hatch, right, the bubble window. I when I was younger, I kind of liked the bubble window, but now as I get older, I really like kind of like have the kind of the flying buttons.
Yeah, I agree. Right, so let's take a look at the engine. Pop this long hood.
Love that it folds back like that.
Yeah, no, it is one of my favorite parts about it. So again, 350. This is the base model, so it's 350, 270 horsepower. I mean, that's one thing I love about these old cars. You can actually just get in there and see everything about the motor. If you need to do any work, it's a lot easier than the modern cars. You can see air conditioning. They started to really produce a lot of cars with air conditioning back then. 350, pretty classic V8.
All right, so here we have the 1973 and a half 911T, right? So the difference between the 73s and the 73 and a halves came down to the fuel injection, right? So 73 and a half starting actually production in January of 73. They moved over to the Bosch CIS fuel injection. So that was why they differentiate between that half year. So as you can see, I mean, 911s are probably one of the most recognizable cars on the road, period. And other than it being much bigger today, right? You can look at a 2020 and point back to this car, which is amazing. I mean, talking about almost 50 years,
Yeah.
right? So 73, this was second year of this generation. This one, again, is a T, which is a base model 911. In 73, they made some minor changes. They changed some of the things that used to be chrome here to black. This one actually has this front bumper. In 73, they had these large bumperettes that were put on there. So at one point, those were removed. You can still see them in the back because they're here, these large ones, which were not there in previous. And this color, so this is Bahia red. So it looks kind of similar to Guards red.
It does, yeah.
But it's a little, I would say it's a little deeper.
Yeah.
Guards red has a little more kind of orangey kind of hue to it to me. This one, obviously, with the classic 911 wheels, the Fuchs, and just that silhouette.
Right. I mean, things have changed over time, but you still recognize these no matter what year it is. I mean, you know instantly 911.
Absolutely.
It's just such a classic look, though.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and again, color combo on this, kind of the Bahia red over black, with the polished pedals on the Fuchs, I think it looks stunning.
Yeah, and to the point about these models. I mean, at that time period, there's a lot of chrome here too.
Yeah.
For Porsche too. So
absolutely
similarities in the way just cars were the manufacturers were making a lot of chrome here too. Yeah. Really beautiful look though.
All right, so engine of 911, complete opposite of the Corvette, right? So it's in the back versus the front. This is only a 2.4 liter flat six, right? So it's a V8, 5.7 liters. This is less than half the size, and obviously 6-cylinder versus 8 cylinders. But it's amazing how much space are in the engine compartments compared to the newer ones now. I mean, basically you can't even see anything now. Obviously the flat six, the fan, everything like that. This is quintessential 911.
Check out the interior of the Corvette. So it's a black vinyl, big gauges here for speedometer and tach, auxiliary gauges in the middle here in the center cluster. Seats, the vinyl, it holds up decent. Little dirt probably got to get out of this, but C3s, first generation that went with the T-tops. So one thing I always loved about these from an interior perspective, back window pops out as well too. So, if you didn't have any aftermarket speakers in here, you pop the T-tops right into the pouches that come with it. You have a little storage area for the back window, and, it's a really neat feature to kind of open the car up even more. I think at that point when they started making the T-tops is really when they started selling more of the coupes than they did the previous generation's convertibles.
Yeah, so one of the things I just noticed now is how long that steering column is. I mean, the hub, it's got to be 18 inches long. It just sticks so far out of the dashboard. I never noticed that before.
That's hilarious. I never even noticed that until you said it. Yeah, I never noticed that. But the steering wheel's in a great position.
Yeah.
Never really thought about it, but that is incredibly long.
All right, so 911 interior, very similar to the 911s. I mean, you sit in this versus any air-cooled 911, and it's very, very, very similar. You got your 5-gauge clusters, front and center. You got that tach right in front of you, which is totally awesome. The dash, everything is, like I said, from these cars way up until the 993s, pretty much the same. Other than, consoles were added. Seats certainly have changed. These are pretty pancake flat, remind me of the old Beetles. These are non-sport seats. But everything else, obviously steering wheels evolve and things like that, but, pretty clean, HVAC, typical Porsche ergonomics. You need a PhD to figure out how to put the HVAC and get it working properly, but, door pockets, these obviously manual wind-up windows, and the nice thing about the 911s, obviously, is you have, the rear jump seats. If you do have young kids, it's, up until probably, depending how big they are, 8 years old, 9 years old, they fit in the back. Very, very similar, this interior, other than some updates to seats and steering wheels. You'll see this, all the way through 98. Take the Corvette for a test drive.
position altogether otherwise. Steering wheel's kind of right where it needs to be. Got a long hood. Obviously, it takes a little getting used to. Again, I'm not as tall as Sean. I can't see the actual front of the car. But other than that, I mean, it's pretty tight cockpit in here. I think you mentioned that during the interior views. Different from the 911, where there's a lot of room. You know, it had all that room on the floor. This is a lot tighter in here. I'm sure Sean's going to mention that as well, too. I fit in here pretty well. Good driving position, though. Good pull. 270 horsepower. Something torque. Torque's pretty well through the RPMs. Surprisingly, the car's pretty tight altogether. Almost 50 years old. You know, it handles those bumps pretty well. First shifter clicks in nicely. Clutch isn't too heavy. I'd say there's a little play in the wheel. Once it engages, it handles nicely. Braking's nice and smooth. Really good responsiveness out of the pedal. Position-wise, I mean, it's comfortable seating position, comfortable driving position. It is tight. It's more of a cockpit feel, but from a driver's perspective, it's everything's right where it needs to be. Obviously, this was the first year that really saw declines in the horsepower. So 1970 was kind of the peak. It had emissions, really changed the landscape of the automotive industry for a while. So this was on the downturn, really. The base model 70s had 300 horsepower, so it drops down 10% to 270. It brings me back decades driving cars of this age.
Alright, so here we go in the vet. Classic V8. Pedals are pretty close together. Sounds great though. Initial impression, it's definitely a different seating position than I'm used to. You know, with your legs kind of pretty well out in front of you. So I think this car, the way it feels, has power steering. I don't think it has power brakes, the way it feels. The steering's a little numb off center. Overall, it feels pretty good. Again, just real long hood with the peaks of the fenders just kind of framing your view. It's pretty cool. Yeah, it's certainly loud. Definitely American V8. Yeah, we're talking early 70s, so different experience with the cars we're used to today. Feels pretty good on the turns. Definitely feels a little floaty though. Kind of floating over the bumps a little bit. Yeah, just basically sitting there in fourth and just driving along, pulling along with the torque. The lower RPMs. Brakes feel pretty good. Like I said, no power brakes, but sounds cool. I dig it. Today's actually a perfect day to have the T-tops off. No doubt about it. But I tell you, I can definitely feel the heat from this big engine that's sitting in front of me here. It's obviously not having the air on or windows down much. It's pretty warm in here. A lot of heat getting generated. One thing I never really noticed was in the C3s is how narrow the interior is. I mean, you know, I'd be pretty close touching shoulder to shoulder with someone here in the passenger seat. I mean, I can touch the other door, so just by sitting here without a problem. So it's pretty narrow in here. I never noticed that before. downshift to third. Downshift to second. Clutch is actually pretty light, feels pretty good. It obviously doesn't have the power or the torque of a newer car, but it's got a ton of character. I love it. So it definitely feels like the engine is pulling you behind it. There's no doubt about it. I mean, it definitely feels, you can feel the heaviness of the car in the front end. Definitely feel that. But I mean, it's not overbearing at all, but you can definitely notice that. And you know, a lot of the cars that I drive are either mid-engine or rear engine, so it's definitely a different feel than I'm used to. But it's kind of cool. It's interesting. The sight lines out of here are pretty good. You know, see out the rear window well. You know, no issues there. Relatively comfortable seats. Not bad at all. Certainly not a car you want to go cross country in, but for a cool Sunday driver, I don't know. Pretty neat. But I tell you, literally sweating from the heat here. I think it's a mid-70s day here in Morris County, New Jersey, where we are. And again, with just having the window cracked and having this engine pumping out all kinds of heat, it's toasty in here. And this first shifter actually feels really good. I like it. So to sum it up, sounds great. Again, nice sounding American V8 to it. It's a little floaty. Steering's a little numb off center a bit. But the shifter feels really good. Brakes feel good. You got great visibility coming out of the car. You know, it's a fun cruiser. You know, again, you know, something to play around with on the weekends. Nice weather, big, perfect day for these T-tops to be off, and just enjoy the drive.
So test drive the 911. Driven a lot of 911s. Never anything this old. Again, 1973 and a half. We talked about the interiors. I think Sean mentioned the seats. Yeah, they're a little flat. A lot of room though. You know, it's roomy, yet you're pretty tight to the passenger if there was anyone in the car. Good vision through the windows. You know, you can see the front of the car right there. No real dead spot with the steering. This is much more precise. You know, you can certainly feel the difference in the weight. You know, pretty low speed here right now, but the steering is really nice for a car of this age. You can definitely feel the lightness of this car. And we're not even on the highway, but already it's noticeable difference between, you know, the sounds. You're getting a lot more wind noise here than you are the engine noise. You know, I can hear it back there, but certainly a lot quieter in the cabin. I got up there in the RPMs a little bit. You know, taking out on the highway and maybe taking a little further, but had a good sense there. Keeps the car moving. You know, it's not as if there's this instant snap when you're, you know, in the 2,000 ranges that you feel automatically. You know, the torque, again, it's a lot less horsepower, but it's a lot lighter car. 2,300 pounds, I think these come in at, so it's a really light car. Much different shifting experience. You know, this has a pretty long shifter. It's pretty far between the gears. You know, they're a little. The shifts are a little delayed altogether. Really tight though, steering. Handling's nice. The car feels really light. Brake pedals nice and heavy. You can really feel like you can stand on these brakes. It's just continuing to give you more braking power. You know, we're in the same back roads, hitting some bumps. Goes nicely over the bumps. You know, there's not a lot of rattle in either of these cars, considering they're almost 50 years old. It's a real testament to what they put together that long ago. Now at about 60 miles an hour. Certainly a lot of wind noise now. Gotta love the smell of these old cars. This takes me right back to my dad's lug that he had. The Corvette engine in it, 4 Weber carburetors. A neat little car. The smell reminds me exactly of that. To sum up the drive, again, really comfortable driving position, good vision, steering precision is much better here. There's really no dead spot in the wheel. You can definitely notice the lightness in this car all the way around. Upper RPMs, you definitely feel the torque much better than the lower. It's not as consistent throughout the band. Really starts to be noticeable at the higher RPMs. I think you had a more fluid torque level through the RPMs in the Corvette. Very tight altogether, considering the age of this car as well. I'm really surprised how well they both drive, but this in comparison to steering is just the precision there, the way it's going, taking the bumps. Everything still feels really tight about the car. Really enjoyable drive though. This was a pleasure. It still feels Porsche kind of through and through. Interior, precision of the steering, braking is very nice. I think the one thing that maybe doesn't have the exact same feel as what you might expect is to have the shifting, but something you get used to. A pleasure to drive through.
All right, so here we are in the 911. Quintessential air-cooled 911 sound, which I love. So again, windows up, so it's going to be a little toasty in here. Not quite like having the big V8 in front of you, but overall, yeah, definitely initial feeling is the car definitely feels lighter. This car's about 2,300, so it's probably 1,000 pounds, right? Half a ton less than the Vette. You can definitely feel that. I think the steering definitely feels a lot more direct than the Corvette. Actually, I was commenting on how narrow the Vette was, but the 911 is pretty narrow too, so I'm able to touch the kind of sill on the passenger side here as well. Throttle's nice and responsive. This is a 4-speed as well. But again, it kind of feels like you're in, from an interior perspective, it feels like you're in any other kind of air-cooled 911. Other than, like I mentioned earlier, the seats are pretty flat, with not a lot of lateral support. So this is the 915 trans. Feels actually pretty decent. Feels good. I mean, it sounds great. Again, kind of typical Porsche power delivery. So, not a ton of torque down low, but once it starts getting the 35, 4,000 RPMs or so, it really starts to pull pretty good. And again, it has that smooth kind of rev band that the flat sixes kind of offer, which is great. Going over through the turns here, bumps. One thing again, kind of a signature of the 911s is you kind of feel everything through the steering wheel. It's no different here. Again, obviously no power steering. You can kind of feel the various differences on the road through the wheel, which is pretty good. Again, going through the turns, a little floaty. Again, by modern car kind of standards, but it feels really good. Again, there's nothing that sounds like an air-cooled Porsche. There's definitely no doubt about that. Holds nice and strong. Again, so this is the base model for the 911s. They had 140 horse, but again, only lugging around 2,300 pounds or so. Basically, kind of the sight lines here. Definitely a different view because you got a much shorter hood than the long hood of the Vette. But like the Vette, you definitely have some reference points in the fenders, right? So instead of having the sharp creases that you do in the Vette, you kind of have your kind of classic pontoon fenders of the 911 here. So you know exactly where the car is. I have to say the car feels smaller, not cramped, but just smaller. It feels like a smaller package overall than the Vette. It's just a very different driving experience from the Vette, and that's one thing I just love about driving different cars is the different experience that each one brings with you. You know, again, kind of a light, relatively light, small, 6-cylinder out in the back versus a heavier, more powerful V8 that sits up front. Just driving and having those various experiences is what makes us as enthusiasts driving these cars what makes it a lot of fun. Kind of love hearing all the mechanics of the air-cooled engines. It just kind of sounds really cool. Getting used to the pedals here, definitely different spacing than the Vette. Obviously the air-cooled cars, unlike most cars where the pedals are hinged from the top, they actually go into the floor themselves. So it's a little different experience from heel towing and things like that. It drives really good. So again, for only 140 horsepower, so it pulls. I mean, it's not gonna win any drag races, but I don't think that's really the point of especially the older 911s. But it's certainly quick enough, and it sounds great and just a lot of fun. A lot of fun to drive. Brakes are really firm, feel really good. I just really like the feel of these older 911s. You can definitely feel they're light. But I tell you though, I was expecting more of a feel difference in the weight of the two cars. Because again, it's about 1,000 pounds, which is a huge difference. But it didn't feel like 1,000 pounds. It definitely is a difference, but not as much as I expected. So, in summary, 911, this particular example drives really well. 2.4 liter, pulls pretty well. Obviously, got to get up in the RPMs, 3,500, 4,000 plus. It's smooth through the power band. The shifter is pretty good as far as these go. Going over the bumps, definitely forgiving. A little bit of pitch, but again, I think that's more of kind of comparing it to more modern cars. It feels like an older 911, which is definitely, again, a unique experience. Having that engine behind you, the way it revs, it's just they're really great cars. You can see why they are the icon that they are. Much like the Vette, they're fantastic cars, and you can see why both of them have such a strong following, because they're just both great cars. All right, so we're back. So here we are. We just went through our test drives, and now we're just gonna sit here and chat about it for a little bit. So let's start with the exteriors, Chris. Which one would you rather?
Exterior. I mean, I go back, so this is interesting. I mean, favorite two cars as a kid.
Yeah.
911, Corvette.
Yeah.
Love the color of this car. Love the kind of every angle. There's no bad angles on either of these cars.
Yeah.
I think pure exterior is still like this model, just generation against generation.
As much as I am a 911 guy, I really like the looks of the C3 Vettes, and again with this color combo, yeah. it just looks dynamite. I love the creases of the fenders and the quarter panels. I love this here, and it looks great. It really does. Interior. So interiors of these are kind of interesting, right? What I noticed in both of them is how narrow they are. And I first noticed it in the Vette. I'm like, wow, I can put my arm across and hit the sill. And then I did in the Porsche. And it was like, oh, wow, I didn't realize that they were that now.
Yeah.
But overall, I would say for me, the interiors, they're really close.
Yeah.
I think for me, honestly, if these had the sports seats, I would say definitely this
Almost.
one.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm really on the fence on these two. I would probably say I'll just maybe slight nod to the 911.
Yeah. No, I think I'm almost exactly there with you.
All right, so let's talk about the performance now. So, Chris, where are you on this?
Yeah, I mean, performance totally different ride, obviously. You know, you alluded to it when we were just walking the cars too. Rear engine, front engine, you know, double the size of the engine, almost double the horsepower.
Yeah.
Steering much better, much more precision here. You feel the lightness of the car altogether. Brakes, obviously, you know, get that thing stopped a little quicker as well too. And I think I like a little extra horsepower and. Yeah.
All right, fair enough. Yeah, I mean, I'm with you on all what you're saying there. Steering, the brakes surprised me in that. They felt really solid, and but it just felt a little bit longer. What really surprised me was that even though there's about 1,000 pounds difference, right, half a ton, it did not feel that much.
Yeah.
Like it just felt lighter, but it didn't feel like 1,000 pounds.
You know, it's the horsepower difference. It's making up for the
Maybe,
differences.
yeah. Yeah, it just didn't feel like that much of a difference. So I'll give a kind of a slight nod to the 911. All right, so here we are. Which one talks to you?
All right, so full disclosure, Sean, as you know, this is my first car I ever bought. Had it for 34 years now. It talks me all together in a lot of ways. I mean, having it that long, I dreamt about these cars as a kid my entire life, both the 911s and the Corvette.
For my very first time I ever drove a 911, I was 19 years old. It was an 87 911 coupe. I went 2 or 3 blocks, and that was it. But like I said, I like driving that more than I expected.
Yeah, no, that's
you know, so overall,
yeah. I mean, this is tough again. I think the prejudice comes in first dream car and kick it to the curb. So I think I'll stick. She'll stay in the garage for another couple of decades, hopefully.
Yeah. No, I can understand that. I can definitely understand. And again, this was closer than I thought it would be for me personally.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I was like, okay, yeah, you know, I thought it was gonna be 911 hands down, and it's not. You know, it's 911 for me, but it was definitely closer than I thought it would be.
Yeah, Zora and Ferdinand would be right here with us in this competition, I think.
It was cool.
They put out some amazing cars over the years, but this is kind of an interesting point in time for both of them, too, and then they both keep moving along.
Absolutely. Right. So thanks for joining us today. This was a ton of fun taking 2 sports car icons out, classic ones. So we were really, you know, this was a ton of fun. So really appreciate you listening to your comments. Hit the subscribe button.
Yeah, check out the website, Dream Car Exchange.
Yeah, and until next time, enjoy the drive.